So let's talk about the AEW ratings, because apparently that has been a discussion of topic in the wrestling community. And a lot of people have been going back and forth as to what the reasoning is for the ratings not being where they should be. Some fans are using this, like I've mentioned before in one video, the overall wrestling community that loves everything wrestling, including WWE, they look at this and they pretty much say, hey, see, AEW is not as big as you think it is, or it's not as strong as you think it is. Well, other fans that support AEW, not to the not to the extent of, let's say, the true diehards or the true hardcores, I should say, that don't find anything wrong with the product, even though others that do strongly support it will say otherwise. Uh, all of them, and like I said, including those that will indeed criticize AEW on some of its mishaps. They will say that the ratings are not as bad as you think they are, and here's the real reason why they're slumping. And again, it's a back and forth debate. Like I said, some are using it to say, hey, see, AEW is not as good as you think it is. And others are saying, hey, it is good, but the reasoning for the ratings not being where they should be is because of this reason. And what is that reason those that defend AEW, like I said, those that call them out on some of the mishaps, and even those that feel they can do nothing wrong, what is the reasoning why they feel the ratings are not doing so well? Well, currently, as we speak, here on the West Coast, for the first time in over 20 years, we are getting live we are getting live wrestling at the same time they get it on the East Coast. What that means is that when 5 o'clock rolls around, just like those people on the East Coast, when 8 o'clock rolls around, we are all getting the same live broadcast of All Elite Wrestling, just like we used to with WCW back in the day. And this apparently has caused a downsurge in the ratings for All Elite Wrestling's main show, Dynamite. And why is that? Well, mainly for the fact that not that long ago, the NHL recently began its new partnership with the Turner Networks. And because of that new partnership, AEW had to move over to the 5 o'clock time slot here on the West Coast and the 6 o'clock time slot in the mountains, if you will, because of the NHL. Now, before they decided to do that, Tony Khan, as mostly of all, decided to do that, they would preempt and wait until at least the next night on Friday, or at least the following night on Saturday. But instead, they have decided that, instead of constantly moving from one day to another, from the primary day to a different day, they have decided basically to move up a few hours, go completely live at the same time that the East Coast gets it and the Central Time gets it, and go from there. Now, will this be something that remains with them when they go to TBS at the beginning of January, beginning of 2022? That remains to be seen. A lot of people, like I said, the AEW supporters, even those that will call them out on the mishaps, and even those that feel they can do nothing wrong, a lot of them believe that no, this won't be the case and things will go back to the way they were. And that is a possibility. That is indeed a possibility because of the fact the show will be on a different network, a more wider ranged Turner Network and TBS, and the fact along with that fact, I should say, we don't have to worry that much about preemptions, or do we? You see, wrestling is always going to be a popular product, a very hot, popular, people are going to tune in by the masses kind of product that anybody will want to invest in. There's no doubt. But there are always times where something will take precedent over that event, and that is a fact. A good example of that is when you look at Fox. When the World Series was on, they could have easily said, hey, we're going to move Fox to later on in the evening on Friday night or to earlier in Friday day before the World Series came on and go from there. But because they had the other cable networks, FS1 and FS2, they decided to move it over to there so that they wouldn't have to worry about either preempting or basically moving it to a later or earlier time slot. And did that hurt SmackDown in the long run? Absolutely. Because not a lot of people have FS1. But still, WWE and Fox did it so they could avoid having to, like I say, be preempted or move to a later time or earlier time to avoid interrupting the World Series or being interrupted by the World Series and vice versa. So basically, when you look at the fact that TBS is going to be a better option, especially for less preemptions, we can't totally say that's going to be a fact. For all we know, the Turner Networks may decide that hockey has become such a big hit for them that they're going to want to move some hockey games over to TBS, and we'll be right back where we started from. But as far as the ratings go, I do have to side with those that have basically said that one of the legit reasonings for the ratings not being where they should is indeed because of the fact that now the West Coast, which is a prominent viewership rating goldmine for any cable company or any cable channel or network channel out there, because of the fact that the show is now at 5 o'clock on the West Coast, when everybody is coming home from work, everybody's coming home from school and stuff like that, it is indeed hurting them. If I'm TNT and possibly TBS, should the same thing happen there, then I make a decision. And that decision is I do the live broadcast, but then after the hockey game is over, I do a replay. And by doing a replay, you're possibly going to get better numbers. And then you can combine those numbers of the live broadcast and the replay broadcast to see exactly what the overall viewership could be. And I guarantee you, if they do something like that, the viewership numbers will go up. But we'll have to see. That is totally up to them. But again, I do have to side with those that believe that is the legit reasoning. Because there's no doubt when you look at the fact that, prior to that, that the ratings were up in a big way for AEW Dynamite. They did not go down. They were not down as much as people look at them now as, because they were at a time slot that everybody across the board could view them at and not miss a thing. Now, because of the live across the nation all time zone deal, that's what's hurting them the most in the numbers. But hopefully when they move to TBS, that won't be the case. However, we cannot assume that's going to be a total clearing, because for all we know, like I said, they could end up deciding, that being the Turner Networks, to bring hockey over to TBS as well. And like I said, we'd be back where we started. But we'll have to see. Now, will there be preemptions? Absolutely. If it's not hockey, then it's going to be later on in the baseball season, especially during playoff time. But that's all I really wanted to say, guys. Again, I believe, truly, like what the others have said, that it is due to the fact that the show is on live across the entire country, at the same time, and then that's what's hurting the ratings in the long run. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check out the Teespring store, especially in time for Christmas. Also, check me out at BW Rose's Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also, check me out at BW Roses on VENMO. Also, check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses and on Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2. But that's all I'm going to say, guys, and I'll talk to you later.